Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Read Em. My name is Emily and today I'm here to help all of you complete your reading goals because I know you're struggling. I'm sorry for the personal attack, but I'm only saying it because I'm with you too. Okay, I'm struggling this year. I set the same reading goal every single year. This year I'm not gonna hit it, and that's okay. I don't think I hit it last year either. My life was crazy the past 2 years. It's been evolving, but I have faith that I can be back to it next year because I'm getting back in my reading game. That being said, I did a vlog recently reading some of the shortest books on my TBR. You know, I think that was kind of genius because it helps you get back into reading because you finish the books faster, you feel more motivated, and also you'll know quicker on if you are liking the book or not, and you can really make some progress. So I thought today, let me give you some recommendations on the good ones of the short books because not everyone is going to be a winner. So I don't want you to just pick short books because they're short. I want you to pick short books because they're short, they're good, and I told you to read them. So without further ado, let me get straight into some of my recommendations. We have a wide variety of genres here today, and I will say I'm not one of those people who's going to claim a short book is like 250 pages. No. Every single one of these books is under 200 pages. Most of them are way under that, so don't worry yourself. I'm actually going to give you short recommendations. First one on the list is a great example of that, and it is about 35 pages, maybe 33, don't know the exact number, but it is Mr. Salary by Sally Rooney. And I think this is a great pick because if you're watching this channel, I'm sure you like Sally Rooney, you like weird girl stuff, and this is another classic Sally Rooney sad girl, weird girl short story. I actually picked up this edition in Portugal. I think it might be the UK version. I don't know where you can get it in the US, but I'm sure it's accessible somewhere. This story is very classic in the Sally Rooney fashion where it's about a young woman who's in some sort of strange arrangement with a man. And what's happening here is I think she's just kind of in a rough period of her life and she's being taken care of by this man financially and like is living with him, so they're roommates, but there's a giant age gap and there's just like this undeniable weird sexual chemistry happening. And that's, I mean, obviously you got 35 pages of that, so there's not much resolution going on. It does really make you want this to be a whole novel, but I will argue, I think maybe since this short story is so much about the undeniable, about the unknown, the fact that there aren't more pages might kind of play into that idea. And that is what I have convinced myself in rating this 4.5 stars. I really love it. I love the writing and it's just amazing quintessential Sally Rooney, and you might yearn for more, but try to think about that theme there to make you feel better. Anyway, this is my first recommendation. You will fly through it in 20 minutes. In a similar vein of strange, yearning women, we have Simple Passion by Annie Ernaux. This one, again, very short. Let me see how many pages we got here. We got 65 pages. You can read this in an hour. Actually, way less than an hour, because look at these pages. That is an insane margin I have never seen before. Anyway, this is actually a very unique memoir. It is a chronicle of a period in this woman's life when she became unhealthily enamored and obsessed with her lover. And he was having an affair. She is the other woman. She just kind of descends into this place of living, breathing, moving, doing everything for him. And this is really just a rumination. It is a countdown of every second she is not with him. And in her words, it is a writing exercise. She claims that she wrote this as a way to write experience into text, and like she really tries to like make that sensory experience and have you like live inside of her head at the time, and it is very effective. It just ultimately has an interesting perspective and conclusion where she kind of looks back on this time as a privilege to have experienced, and she's happy to have gone through this passion and had the opportunity to feel such feelings. I view it more as a mental health crisis, but that's okay, to each their own. I loved it though, gave it 5 stars. This is, I think, my second favorite book of the year on my list, and I highly recommend it because of how strange its perspective is and how kind of relatable it can be at times in terms of the mental health aspects. It's a weird one. It's a weird one, and if you're part of my audience, I think you'd be into it. Next up is kind of an ironic pick because this author is known for his really, really long books, not his really short ones, but this one is a very short one, and it is The Body by Stephen King. This is one of my favorite books ever. It is also one of my favorite films ever, and it inspired the film Stand By Me, but they don't call it The Body because it's a little bit of a misnomer. Now, I guess not really, because it is about 4 12-year-old boys who go into the woods to try to find a body. True. But when you see that next to Stephen King, I think you assume more of a horror type of situation, but this is actually a completely contemporary coming of age story, just completely normal fiction. It is totally just a story of adolescence, of boyhood, of camaraderie, of nostalgia, and kind of mourning the past that you can never return to and the joys of childhood. It's just a sweet coming of age time, and I don't know why more people haven't read it. It is 165 pages. Okay, so we're approaching the 200 page threshold. However, it is just such a sweet, easy read that I think you could easily read it in an afternoon, and you can go watch the movie right after. One of my favorites, again, coming of age tales. It would be perfect for the fall, perfect for a little woods exploration. That's my recommendation there. Sorry for the shift in lighting. There's a cloud, but I think it's still okay. If you were disappointed by the fact that I just recommended a Stephen King book that wasn't horror, don't worry, I have a horror book for you. And I know you can't see it because I don't have the cover on it, but it's Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke by Erica Roca. Now you might be thinking, this book is looking a little thick, Emily. And that is true, but that's because what I'm recommending here is the specific novella that I just said, Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke, which is the titular novella, but this is an entire short story collection that contains 2 more short stories. So I'm recommending the novella by itself, and I'm not recommending the other 2 short stories for the purpose of this video. I do recommend them. I like everything Erica Roca writes, but this novella is a standalone novella, and you can log it separately on Goodreads. It was originally published like that, so it's not cheating, and it's only 150 pages. What it's about, and now here I'm gonna have to give you a warning, because I've transitioned from a non-horror to a horror, but this one's like really disgusting. Like, this is not an introduction to horror. Don't take this recommendation if you haven't read horror before. You're not gonna like this. You're not gonna like this unless you think you're gonna like this. The concept here is it is told in like a chat room format, so that makes it even more quick to read. But it is told in a chat room format because it is about 2 people interacting on a chat forum, or maybe they're emailing each other, something like that. And one of them wants to buy an apple peeler from the other one. And then they kind of continue speaking even after the transaction has happened, and they slowly morph their way into a strange dynamic, into another sort of obsessive situation, and then it just gets real gnarly. It's real gnarly, and that's all I'm gonna say, because it's been going viral on everything forever, this book, in the past few years. The original cover is what made me want to read it, and the tagline is, "What have you done today to deserve your eyes?" If you're into that idea, you're gonna be into this. And also, if you're into this, once you read it, you have a million short stories from this man to also read. Okay, the next books I have are actually kind of part of a collection, and there are many of them for you to choose from, and those are the Atlantic editions. I have On Grief here and On Womanhood, and I also really loved On Nobody Famous, but I lent that one to a friend. What these are bound collections of pieces from the Atlantic, and they are just republished like this. There's like a bunch of different ones. They're not only these 3, these are just the 3 that I've read. I would recommend any of the ones I've read so far. I think my favorite one that I read was On Nobody Famous, because I found it personally relatable, because it's about New York City and being a young woman there. But I would recommend any of these. This one is pop culture and feminism, and how it's essays about how those 2 things you have united. And then On Grief is actually sort of a biographical piece, or a feature story, I guess, because it's journalism, about a young man who died in 9/11, and then how his family has grappled with his death since. And it's very interesting because some of them grapple with it in strange ways. I would recommend any of these. Again, you will read them in like 5 seconds, and you'll feel educated from that experience. Last but not least, we have, I think, the longest novel that I've chosen for this video, but it still comes in at a whopping 165 pages. Okay, so that's kind of the same as the body, but this one is a little more fun and a little more quirky, and I feel like maybe some of you have heard of it before, but I didn't love the American cover, but I have the British cover here, and it really persuaded me to read it, and it is Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. Now, I have struggled with Japanese literature in the past. Something about the writing style just has never jived with me. Like the writing conventions that seem to be prevalent in like a lot of the books. But then I read this one, and maybe, now that I think about it, maybe it's because this is written by a woman. That might be the problem I was running into, is that I hadn't read one written by a woman before. Except for a thriller. I did read a thriller. But this one, it just really ticked all the boxes. It's great, especially for the weird girl fiction lovers. So the concept here is that a middle-aged woman works at a convenience store still, and she's single and unmarried. And in Japanese society, and also just in a lot of societies, this is considered strange, to the point where she is constantly berated about it every single day. People come up to her and ask her, why on earth do you still work there? And why on earth have you not gotten married? What is your problem? Like, are you going through a crisis? Like, what? And she just does not care. Like, she is so happy with this life. She's so content. She thrives in this environment. And she's just like, what is wrong with everyone, and why won't they leave me alone? So, Hello. Okay, well, apparently I wrote a lot of notes about this when I read it. And, oh, I did some math tutoring and then wrote that. But I promise that was a note about the book and not a cry for help. Anyway, so yes, as this says, the main theme of the book is just why can't everyone leave me alone? Let me do my own thing. And it's really cathartic, honestly, and kind of comical. There's definitely zany, quirky things that go on. She kind of comes up with an arrangement to convince society that she is participating in the things they want her to participate in, and it's all like a big ruse, and it's a fun time. You will enjoy the quirkiness and the main character, and it's so quick to read because everything that happens is very contained, and I really would just recommend this for something lighter as well compared to a lot of the genres I typically read. Those are all the recommendations I have for you today, but I just thought it'd be nice to relate to you a little bit here and give you an inside look at some of the short books I am hoping to read in the near future because I am in the same struggle boat as you, trying to catch up with my goal. Yes, I did get really distracted reading the Winners trilogy because I read the first book in like a day and then I had to binge the rest of the series, so I'm a little distracted with these long books, but that's fine, that doesn't matter. And you should always read what you want to read, that's a sign there. Don't just read the short books because you want to take off a goal, read what you actually want to read. But the 3 short books that I do have coming up on my list are Die My Love, which is also a movie coming out soon with Jennifer Lawrence and Robert Pattinson. But this is described as a woman battling her demons and discusses the terrors of desire, which I'm really into that phrasing. Then I also have Agatha Christie. I feel like any of her things you can fly through and it would be very good fall vibes and just an easy mystery to really keep the pages turning. So this one is The Mysterious Empire of the Styles, which I think is the first Poirot book, but I haven't been reading them in order. And lastly, it's just like a concept, is reading manga, obviously, is a quick thing to do. I have a weird mixed history with manga. Like, I like this series, but like, will I actually keep reading it after this one? I don't know. I'm just never tied to them. I don't feel like emotionally connected when I don't have the full context of a novel. But like, the concept of manga or graphic novel is also great for getting through books really fast. So thank you all so much for watching all the way to the end of this video. I really hope that you found something you might enjoy here, or at least an idea to read short books in general to complete your goal. And I wish you all good luck on your reading goals and just having fun with your reading journey, even if you don't hit your goal, because I'm definitely not gonna hit mine. That is completely okay. Please consider commenting any other short books you've loved down below and subscribing and liking, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!